Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. So today, as you can see, I'm not at home in my home garden. I'm actually at my brother and sister-in-law's house, and we were supposed to do this project last fall, but as you know, we were in COVID lockdown, and so we didn't get a chance to start. So like every gardening project, it's probably best to do it in the fall, but because that was not possible, so then we decided to tackle this year in the spring. And the best time to do this, like I said, is when it's cool, because we will be transplanting a lot of the plants, dividing, and a lot of the perennials that we currently have in the garden. So it's probably the best to do it when the plants are still just coming out of dormancy, and therefore they haven't fully leafed out yet. So as you can see, the garden is quite mature. There's lots of mature evergreen euonymus here along the fence. Now this house is a fairly old established house. Now they did just recently do the paver stones last year, and so they've asked me to help them with sort of gardening, sort of redesign the border around the garden and move some of the plants around for them, because they're not very familiar with the plants that are in the garden. They don't know what plants can do well in what type of amount of sunlight. And so I think with my help, hopefully I'll be able to make it nice and fresh and clean for them. So here's what we're gonna do today. So we're going to redesign the border here. So as you can see, we kind of started drawing out the border with a little bit of paint, and we kind of left it on for a few days just to kind of live with the shape and live with the pattern to see if there's any change. And like any project, the first layout or the first plan you do is probably not going to be the one that you will stick with. So as you can see, the rain has faded the outline a little bit. So we're going to go over the outline, make some rough changes with some of the paint that we've got, and then hopefully start digging. So let's come over here and I'll start to show you what we have. So here's what I'm going to be using when digging up a new border garden. I need one of these tools. This is so important to start making an outline of your border garden and for shaping the grass. And like, look how well used, how well loved it is. And before we do that, I usually mark it out first. And like I said, you can mark it out first, kind of look at it, study it for a few hours or a few days to kind of have a good feel. And then if you like the shape, you can start cutting, or if you don't like it, you can go back and change the sort of the cutout, the layout. And when transplanting and when designing or when sort of prepping a garden soil, I always like to add compost over the garden bed that I will be using, so that way I don't have to actually fertilize the plants as I transplant them. But however, if you have heavy feeders like roses and clematis and plants like that, you will probably have to feed with fertilizer. But most of the plants, I think all they really need is lots of compost and lots of mulch on top, and that usually is sufficient enough. So anyhow, we're gonna set my camera up and go through all of that with you. So the shape that we're going for is going to be some curve like that, and then we're gonna come around this way, and then that's going to come around and wrap all the way down to the gate like that. And then on this side, we're going to keep the shape but make it a bit more sort of curved out a bit, and then it will end here. And then on this side, we'll have it extended out here like this, and then we're going to wrap it around this tree like so. Come around this way, I'll show you a stander of the Rose of Sharon that I trained into a tree for them, the single stem. So this is now I would say year number 7. So it's a pretty good and beautiful Rose of Sharon. It's got a white flower with a sort of a deep red pinkish throat. It's really gorgeous. And then these two are 2 plants that my parents, Rose of Sharon, that my parents also give. And they have lots and lots of hydrangeas in here that came from either my garden or my parents' garden. So we'll be using a lot of the existing plants and just kind of transplant them into their sort of new location and try to repurpose, reuse as many of these plants as possible. And also any new plants that we divide, we'll be able to use them around the garden as well. So let's get started. So I went around and I just made the the marking for the border of the garden with that orange paint. So there it is. And now we're gonna start digging. So let me just quickly update on what we've accomplished so far. So we started the digging yesterday and we started removing the grass, and we wanted to roll the grass up, but we couldn't because the lawn is just so established that everything was sort of deeply rooted in. So we removed most of the grass. We still have some to do, I think. And my brother Tony, he is just quickly removing the stone around and just kind of reorganizing. But I think we've got the sort of pattern sort of cut out nicely, and it's coming along quite nice. I'll just quickly show you that. We still have a little bit of cutout to do over there, and then we've also got that cut out as well, and still some grass to remove over there. That's sort of the gist of it, right? So we're going to continue to do some of that, and then I'll start to talk about in terms of how we prepare the soil in order to start. So here's sort of the final layout of how the garden looks. So basically we removed all the grass, we applied compost to the garden soil, we raked everything in, tilled everything in, and then I went around, I re-edged the entire border so it looks nice and clean. So as you can see, that's what we did here. Now there are still a little bit left over here, which we will do, but we did finish sort of digging out everything on this side. We did change the sort of the border a little bit over here. We didn't like the sort of shape that we drew, so we decided to go straight up. Oh, you can see me. And then we went over here. Now we left a little bit of grass here because my brother's gonna go in and put in the edger for the stone paver so it can hold it in place. So as soon as the edger comes, he'll remove the rest of the grass and put the aluminum edger in for that stone. So like I said, we put in a lot of compost to prep the soil. We tilled everything in, and I think if you can see, this is how the edge looks like. So I went in and I edged everything, so everything looks nice and neat. Now just to kind of recap the lighting situation that we have in this garden. So basically this garden is a northwest facing. So this is northwest. North is this way. We've got northwest on this side, and then we've got a little bit of sort of west situation going on this side. So pretty much this garden here gets mostly shade in the afternoon. So there is some lighting in the morning, but very little. So as you go across here, you can see that this side here gets more sun, and along this side. And then there is a big, huge maple tree here. So once that leaves out, it's gonna shade this part a little bit more. But then if you come along this way, this is more of a sunny border. So we're gonna be planting lots of plants that will enjoy full sun in this entire border. But then if you come along here, there is a huge sort of apple tree here that shades it a bit, but there is some afternoon sun. So we'll be planting some of the perennials that will be sort of more partial shade, partial sun. So that's sort of the layout of how we are going to arrange our plant. So I'm gonna quickly walk, I hope you can hear me because it's pretty windy out right now, and it's chilly too, so my hands are starting to get really cold. So I'm just gonna quickly show you what the current plants we have in the garden and what we have to deal with. So the whole purpose of this project is to repurpose, reuse many of the plants that are currently in the garden. Now, many of these plants are plants that were either given to my brother and sister-in-law by my parents or myself. So for example, this is a Rose of Sharon standard that I actually created myself some years ago, almost 10 years ago. So it's been in this spot for about, I think 7. I think by the 3rd year I gave it to them, and it's grown so much. It used to be about 2-3 feet tall, but now it grows to almost 6 feet tall. So pretty exciting. And then there's 2 more sort of standards, but multi-trunk standards of Rose of Sharon as well, but I forget what color these are. But you can see that there's also some hydrangeas here, paniculata hydrangea. Now I don't quite remember, but I think this is a strawberry vanilla that I propagated way back. I don't quite remember because when we gave them, they just kind of plunk it into the ground without really thinking about the size of the overall plant. So they did plant it quite close to the fence, so we will be moving that and rearranging, transplanting some of those plants, and possibly even divide them so that they have more plants to use around the garden. And they also have a lot of sort of ground cover sedum, which I will probably dig up and transplant so that it covers acts like a ground cover for the rest of the space that we have. They also have lots of tulips here. As you can see, my sister-in-law, she planted a lot of tulips last year, but not all of them came back because tulips for some reason don't naturalize very well in our zone. So there are some varieties, but the varieties that we have here, they don't tend to naturalize very well. But I think this is a bulbul hydrangea, I believe, I don't quite remember, which we will be moving out as well. And then you can see there's another bulbul hydrangea right there, which we will be moving outside here. So I think because of the amount of sun that we have here, the majority of the paniculata hydrangeas will enjoy all this sort of amount amount of light that it gets. So anyhow, I am going to also be moving or transplanting some of the boxwoods. As you can see, there's a boxwood, the little boxwood there, there's a little guy there, and there's plenty of these little guys all around the garden, which I will be probably transplanting around. Let's go around this corner. So over here we have a few bushes of the Annabelle smooth hydrangea or the arborescent hydrangea. So these don't do very well here because they are sort of shaded by this plant, this tree right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move those to another location where they enjoy sort of, they can better sort of grow and thrive. And then there is I think this is a pink diamond paniculate hydrangea, which I don't quite remember, but this was planted I think when my brother first moved in and his wife first moved into the property about 7 years ago. So this has grown so much. I think this is about the maximum size. So it grows to about 4 to 5 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide, which I will be digging up and sort of relocating it further out here, and hopefully in the process I will divide that into two so that I can move the other half to that location. So there's two of them sort of in this part of the garden here, and then I think she also have another bush of the smooth hydrangea or arborescent hydrangea Annabelle right there, which we will be relocating as well. And then about there, I think that's the other pink diamond paniculata hydrangea. I think that we will leave in that spot. We're not going to be transplanting. And then she's got a few, I forgot here, the Bonera. I don't know what variety it is, but it is gorgeous. I love that sort of leaf and the color, that silvery blue, beautiful. I love that. So I'm going to be transplanting that and dividing that as well for them. Where, we're not sure yet. And then we have also another, I think this is a strawberry vanilla strawberry. I forget which variety, but these two, I will probably relocate this one. I think this one we will leave here. And then in front we have, I think this one is the Endless Summer Original. This is a plant that I also gave as well. And then next to it, I forget if it's the same or not, but this is for sure an Endless Summer Original hydrangea. This is a big leaf hydrangea, so I will be relocating that. I think it's not getting enough sun, so it didn't bloom very well, but we'll locate it. We'll move that one as well. And then along this border here, where it gets mostly shade, we're going to be planting lots of arborescent Annabelle hydrangeas, so they get a nice big beautiful white blooms in the summer. So anyhow, I'm gonna set my camera up and start to do some of that planting. So let me just quickly sum up what we completed for today. So as you can see, this whole border here is shaded by this apple tree here. So we're going to be planting a lot of sort of plants that likes the shade. So I was thinking of going with a drift of hosta, something that's bright, something that will stand out in the shade. And then there's a boxwood that we're planning on growing that into a sphere. And along the boxwood to the first Annabelle hydrangea, that's going to be a drift of stilby. That will be a shade-loving type of plant. And then around this crabapple, we'll plant another drift of hosta, something that's different and that contrasts the foliage of the hosta that we have here and the stilby that we have here. And along here, you can see I planted a whole drift border of Annabelle smooth hydrangea. So when that blooms, which for our garden zone, which is around June to July, it'll be beautiful here. And it's getting quite windy, so I hope you can still hear me. And then I also dug up a whole bunch of hostas, which we will be dividing and placing them all around the garden. The only problem is we're not sure what color these are, so we don't know where to place them yet. So we have to figure that out soon. And then as you can see, we also clean up there. Just gonna walk slowly down to the back garden here so you can see. So I also planted the boxwood there at the corner. I was thinking of planting another one on this side, but it's just way too close to the maple. I'm not sure if that's going to be able to survive. Now for this border over here, as you can see, we dug it all up, so it's nice and clean. We also edged the border here. So I'm not sure what we're going to plant here yet, but we can decide later. Now these two little boxwood will have to go because I think, you know, the cone box is going to stay. So in order for this to look nice, this has to be something else. So I'm thinking of another type of plant that will contrast the foliage of the cone boxwood. So these two are going to go. Now along here, we didn't get a chance to move these paniculata hydrangeas yet, so we will do that another day. And there's another one over there that we will be moving as well. So I think that's also here. If you come over this side, you'll see that I also planted a boxwood at this corner as well, which we will be training into a sphere or a ball like. So anyway, I think we're going to say goodbye for now. And it is because it is getting quite dark and it's quite cold outside right now and my hands are actually freezing. So again, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. And I hope you enjoy a little bit of me and us, you know, trying to plant and renovate this garden, and hopefully it will be something fun and interesting for you to see. So again, I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye bye for now.